Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro Moros has described Sunday's parliamentary elections as a historic effort. U.S. President-elect Joe Biden said his administration will require additional congressional funds for massive vaccination in the first 100 days of his government. Turkey called on the European Union to become an honest mediator in its standoff with the bloc's member Greece over undersea resources. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm Gladys Quesada. Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro Moros held a press conference with international media this Tuesday, during which he addressed the recent parliamentary elections. Maduro described the electoral participation of the Venezuelan people as a historic effort in the midst of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic and the escalation of the economic, financial, and commercial warfare of the United States against the country. The president highlighted the victory of progressive forces, which guarantees the recovery of the parliament in a peaceful and democratic manner. In response to questions from the media, President Maduro stressed that Venezuela has very good relations with the United States as a country and as a society, but has been unable to establish a respectful relationship with the current government, noting that there was better dialogue under the Obama administration before it decreed Venezuela as a threat to U.S. national security. Maduro also noted his willingness to work towards a dialogue between the two countries, following the inauguration of U.S. President-elect Joe Biden in January.
We have achieved the goal to peacefully recover the National Assembly through the popular vote. Today, December 8, 2020, I can say that a new National Assembly has been born in Venezuela by mandate of the Constitution and in full compliance with the country's legal system, and in the only way a National Assembly can be chosen for its subsequent mandates, through the vote of the people. The Venezuelan people chose a new National Assembly through their votes in a legal, constitutional way and following the legal framework, which will rule and govern our country for the next 5 years, from 2021 to 2026.
And the Venezuelan president denounced a plan to assassinate him during the parliamentary elections, which was sponsored by the government of Colombia.
I changed my polling station, as any Venezuelan who wants to can change his or her polling station. I requested the change of polling station because through a very reliable Colombian intelligence source, we received information that they were preparing an attempt to assassinate me on election day during a live broadcast. We conducted the investigations, and my security team made a decision to recommend this change of the polling station because it was a fixed day in a fixed place, and Iván Duque participated in the plans to kill me on election day from the Nariño presidential palace.
And President Maduro pointed out that Venezuela is in the midst of a multifactorial war that aims to prevent the creation of an alternative model to neoliberalism.
Venezuela is in the spotlight, at the epicenter of the global debate. The world's empires have tried to recolonize our country because they are waging a multifactorial, unconventional war to prevent Venezuela's development, its definite consolidation, because it has already risen up to prevent the development of an alternative model to dominant capitalism, neoliberalism, dominant neocolonialism, to prevent the appearance of a model of an independent nation building a new social model, socialism of the 21st century.
The National Electoral Council of Ecuador has approved the candidacies of presidential running mates Andrés Araúz and Carlos Rabascal, representing the Union for Hope coalition. The president of the Electoral Council, Diana Tamant, informed that with this decision, there are now a total of 16 pairs of running mates approved to participate in the presidential elections to be held on February 2021. Last Wednesday, Arauz called for citizen and international vigilance after his candidacy was repeatedly blocked and challenged. He stressed that Ecuador is experiencing a blow to democracy under the Lenín Moreno government, with years of political persecution and threats against a leftist candidate who runs for office. Colombia is on alert given the massive displacement of indigenous communities in the department of Chocó following the assassination of an indigenous leader last week. The assassination of indigenous leader Miguel Tapirrito on December the 3rd and a paramilitary incursion in the community of Bahía Solano in the department of Chocó have forced more than 900 residents to leave the territory in the face of the lack of security that has been constantly denounced by the community. The Ombudsman Office reported that 195 families have been displaced, including at least 200 minors. The Institute for Development and Peace Studies joined the alert issued by the National Indigenous Organization of Colombia regarding the mass forced displacement and the high level of vulnerability of this community to escalated armed violence. And we'll be right back after this very short break, so don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. The 7th Cuba-Caribbean Community Summit of Heads of State and Government sessioned this Tuesday and was closed by Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel and CARICOM Chairman and Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Ralph Gonsalves. The event was held in a video conference format due to the coronavirus pandemic and allowed member states to establish strategies to address the health crisis that has hit the region hard. Leaders of the Caribbean Community member states noted that they will continue to work together to assess the economic crisis, climate change, and development strategies. They also reiterated the rejection to the U.S. blockade against Cuba. The event coincided with the 48th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between Cuba and Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, and Jamaica.
We agree that cooperation between our countries remains fully valid, and we also note the need to increase exchanges to deepen them for mutual benefit. It was ratified that the solidarity we have practiced is indispensable in these times, even more so because of the obvious effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. We agree that climate change continues to be one of the greatest challenges for our countries. In this regard, we underline the relevance of strengthening exchanges of natural disasters, risk mitigation, and collaboration in times of emergency. We have also appreciated the importance of more affordable credit mechanisms to ensure the development needs of our nations.
The Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and CARICOM Chairman Ralph Gonsalves emphasized the community's rejection of the unilateral coercive measures imposed by the government of the United States.
Y rechazamos la imposición de
We reject the imposition of unilateral coercive measures and call for an end to the United States economic, financial, and commercial blockade against Cuba, and an end to the persecution of financial transactions, which has increased, as many colleagues have expressed. After January the 20th, with the new President of the United States, we hope to see progress in this direction.
Como muchos colegas han expresado.
The President-elect of the United States, Joe Biden, said on Tuesday his administration will require additional congressional funds to obtain 100 million vaccines against COVID-19 in the first 100 days of his government.
The effort will slow and stall. Let me repeat, we need Congress to finish the bipartisan work underway now.
And U.S. President-elect Joe Biden has promised to distribute a coronavirus vaccines to 100 million people during the first 3 months of his incoming administration. Introducing his pandemic response team this Tuesday, Biden said they were crisis-tested and will spare not a single effort to get this pandemic under control. He repeated his previous calls for all Americans to wear masks for 100 days to prevent the spread of the virus and said he'd mandate doing so in the federal buildings and on public transport, while also making the new promise to distribute 100 million vaccine shots over the same period.
Strong public health measures in place that we all follow. Then this team will help get at the last 100 million COVID-19 vaccine, at least 100 million COVID vaccine shots into the arms of the American people in the first 100 days. 100 million shots in the first 100 days. If Congress provides the funding we need to protect students, educators, and staff, if states and cities put strong public health measures in place that we all follow, then my team will work to see that a majority of our schools can be open by the end of my first 100 days.
The U.S. Food and Drug Administration confirmed that the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine is 95% effective, and it had found no safety concerns to stop approval of the vaccine for emergency use. Career scientists at the FDA analyzed the data from the ongoing Pfizer trial to form their own conclusions about its safety and efficacy. The documents show that there were a total of 6 deaths in the Pfizer's late-stage trial of the vaccine, with 2 deaths among patients receiving the vaccine, and the rest in those of a placebo. But the FDA said all deaths represent events that occur in the general population at a similar rate. The federal agency will meet on Thursday to make a formal decision. And this Tuesday, the United Kingdom began its mass COVID-19 vaccination process, with a 90-year-old woman being the first to receive the Pfizer-BioNTech jab. Kicking off, Britain's VJ, 90-year-old Margaret Keenan said she felt privileged to be given the injection, the first of millions expected to be administered over the coming month in the hard-hit country, which has reported the highest COVID-19 death toll in Europe. The first stage of the vaccination campaign is aimed at the over 80s, care home workers, and at-risk health and social care staff. The Pfizer-BioNTech jab is one of several vaccines bringing hope for an end to the pandemic that has killed more than 1.5 million people worldwide and ravaged the global economy.
It's less than a year since the first case of coronavirus was diagnosed, and yet here we are in the NHS able to begin administering life-saving vaccine to vulnerable patients. So today's a chance to say a huge thank you to the researchers, the scientists, the volunteers who took part in the vaccine trials, the regulators who independently checked the safety and the efficacy of the vaccine, but above all to staff across the health service who are pulling out all the stops, whether that's the nurses, the therapists, the doctors, the support staff, for what is going to be the biggest vaccination campaign in our history.
And healthcare workers in the Welsh capital Cardiff were among the first people in the Western world to receive the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine against COVID-19 at the start of a marathon campaign that health officials hope will bring the pandemic to an end.
About it because we thought this is a once-in-a-generation thing and everything's changing and we don't know what's coming, and I feel like we were really well prepared in the emergency unit. The way the staff worked together, the way we reorganised the unit and everything. Yeah, I think that the vaccine has come about really, really quickly, which is great, but I had no apprehensions about having it and didn't think that it was too soon or anything like that. I trust the science.
Because we've only got 975 vaccines in our first week, we've prepared 225 people every day up until Friday now, because the vaccine's only got a 5-day shelf life. So we need to ensure we get 225 people through in the next 5 days, and we are fully booked.
People, it's been an awful year for people, but we do need people to be patient for that bit longer. Let's get through to the spring, and as we work through to the spring, we will be vaccinating as many people as we can.
And we have more stories coming up after this final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. Turkey on Tuesday called on the European Union to become a honest mediator in its standoff with the bloc's member Greece on the undersea resources, 2 days before an EU summit. Turkey is at odds with Greece over territory believed to be rich in gas and the Eastern Mediterranean. Athens is now pressing for punitive sanctions at an aid summit on Thursday. Ankara has angered Greece at the rest of the EU by sending a survey ship and navy vessels to the disputed waters in defiance of calls to stop. It ordered the Oryx trade ship back to port last month. France supports Greece's calls for sanctions, but not all countries are convinced, with some fearing over an influx of refugees.
We expect the EU to always act strategically and rationally. We expect it to contribute to the solution of existing problems. For this, the EU should play a role of an honest mediator.
Whether certain people like it or not, the situation is still that the security of the European Union is in the hands of Turkey to a great extent.
The executive director of the European Medicines Agency has said she hopes there might be multiple coronavirus vaccines by the end of next year. Director Emmer Cook said the EU regulator could approve the first COVID-19 vaccine made by Pfizer and BioNTech after an extraordinary meeting to evaluate the evidence on December 29th, although that date might be moved up earlier. She also noted that a second shot made by Moderna could be green-lighted on January 12th. The United Kingdom approved the Pfizer and BioNTech vaccine last week and started immunizing people this Tuesday, with the United States expected to follow suit within days. Cook said the agency normally wouldn't publicize the days on which it's expected to approve vaccines, but decided to do so because of the huge interest in the issue and because of some of the confidential data to be discussed was being leaked.
Look at the number in phase 2B, phase 3, it's more than 10. I mean, realistically, if they get to that stage, I think the success rate tends to be in the 80 to 90%. So it is quite possible that we would have multiple vaccines. We feel a huge responsibility, and we feel a huge responsibility to the European population, a huge responsibility to get this right, to make sure that what we deliver in terms of a scientific opinion is robust, reliable, and will meet the needs of our population.
The World Health Organization insisted this Tuesday that public information campaigns to be conducted to explain the benefits of getting vaccinated against COVID-19. WHO Executive Director of Health Emergencies, Mike Ryan, stressed that awareness campaigns will be more effective than imposing mandatory immunizations. The official also said that it is more feasible to present data, details and results of studies to generate a collective awareness among the population regarding the importance of vaccinations in the face of the global health crisis. The official noted that in some countries there are misgivings about the COVID-19 vaccines due to the speed with they are developed, and there is a need to clarify people's doubts. And Ethiopia's government admitted this Tuesday that its security forces had shot and had detained United Nations staffers as they tried to reach part of the northern Tigray region. A senior official blamed the UN staffers for trying to reach areas where they were not supposed to go, claiming they ignored instructions and drove through government checkpoints in the northern region of Tigray. The shooting came amid soaring frustration among humanitarian officials, as desperately needed aid is still not freely reaching the region more than a week after the United Nations and Ethiopia's government signed a deal for access. The spokesperson for the U.S. Secretary General described the move as alarming and said UN officials are engaging at the highest level to express concerns and avoid any such incidents in the future. He said the 4 UN staffers on Sunday had been trying to access roads, a key step before larger aid convoys can go in.
They were not supposed to move, but they indulged themselves to in kind of adventurous expedition. They broke 2 checkpoints. So what the agreement meant was the government would coordinate, the government would lead. So whenever the government creates access to operate humanitarian action, then UN agencies would be on board. Whenever we say then it is not safe to be accessed, then UN and other entities of our partners have to comply to that. Yes, some of the UN staffs were actually detained and some were shot at. Why that happened? So this country is not no man's land. It has a government. It only has difficulty in the north. So they were told in some of areas they were not supposed to move. But they indulged themselves to kind of adventurous expedition. They broke 2 checkpoints to drive hastily to areas where they were not supposed to go, that they were told not to go. So they were left alone when they broke 2 checkpoints. And then when they were about to break the 3rd one, they were shot at and detained. Now, of course, they are free.
And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website and follow us in social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For TeleSUR English, I'm Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.